To defy the odds, you have to risk everything and take chances. At Old Nation Brewing Company, we did just that. From an unknown startup brewery to standing alongside national craft brands in just under a decade, we remain one of the last of the large, independently owned breweries in Michigan. Our beer is respectfully brewed using only the highest quality ingredients, and we don't cut corners. With the times changing for everyone, one thing that stays the same is Old Nation's respect for great beer and the people who love it. We're growing in cans produced and fans made. When you taste our beer, you'll know why.
I wanted to bring this up, just a one-segment deal, because I'm not brought to yelling about it, but just yesterday irked me about Torkelson being in right field, and I admit I've attached the Baez at third thing. I've attached not really having a shortstop thing in the mix. I'm very annoyed right now, but Torkelson played right. He made a pretty bad gaffe. With a throwing error where you try to nail a guy at third, you give away a base, then the ball gets fumbled, the run scores. I mean, it's Little League stuff. I don't need Torkelson in right field. At this point in my life, Torkelson is a DH and first baseman. That's it. But they got him in right. They're trying it. They want to see if it's another button they can push. Here's a quote. You tell me what your response is. And if you don't have one, if you go, Mike, I don't care, that's also fine. I was kind of excited for the opportunity, Torkelson said after the Tigers beat the Pirates 9-6. I was like, it can't get much harder than this, so it's only easier from here. Not much action. I wanted a little bit of action. I'm just drained staying locked in. You got to trick your brain to stay locked in out there. I'm not mad at what he said. I'm mad at the situation, which is, why are we asking this guy at this point in the offseason to learn something that's incredibly difficult to do, which is to go from playing first base to becoming an acceptable right fielder, much less an above average one. And what he's saying isn't wrong. It's just, why didn't they go? If they knew they weren't going to be in the market for outfielders, and they knew they were one injury away with Parker Meadows from having to try Tork and right, then why wasn't this something you investigated at the conclusion of the season? Mm-hmm. Tork, we want to ensure we can get your bat in the lineup as much as possible. We want this to work. I mean, a lot of teams would have traded him and just gotten him up out of here. He gets a clean slate. You clear a roster spot. Fine, you didn't want to do that. But as we start the season, I want to say this to you again. Rico, who's your shortstop every day? Don't know. Who's your third baseman every day? Don't know. Colt Keith is now at second when Tork's going out there, and you go, all right, well, the problem is Gleyber Torres isn't going to move around.
Correct.
He's locked in there at second because, by all accounts, he refused to play third. I can tell you factually he refused to play third with the Yankees, and he didn't want to play third with the Nats. They offered more money. So I'm just frustrated because Tork's being put in a spot, and I'm not absolving him. He has been his own worst enemy in all of this. He just hasn't produced. I'm drained because it's hard to stay locked in and play the outfield. You know, it can't get much more difficult than this, so it's only easier from here. It's March 18th. Mm-hmm. Why is this happening? Kenny, I'm sorry. Kenny's about to jump through the glass, Rico.
Oh,
please, you two fight it out. I don't care.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah, no, because I saw those quotes, and there was more in that article from AJ. I think he learned that you can do a lot of running in the outfield just even to back up to do different things. It's probably better he didn't get a fly ball based on the elements. This is not something you should be figuring out in the middle of March. I'm not upset by the quotes because the quotes are correct just on a technical standpoint, but why are we learning this now? Why is this the plan starting now?
Because if this was going to be the plan after the season, maybe you ship him down and go play some winter baseball and go learn the outfield. See how you are. Have somebody go down there, check on him. Hey, how's Tork doing out in the outfield? Is this a viable option? Yeah, Skip. Nah, he's struggling out there. Okay, we go into free agency. We got to make a trade. We have to do something. There were ways around this. I agree with you, too. Totally. You shouldn't be blindsided by this because you shouldn't be doing this weeks before the season starts. This is irresponsible.
Well, look, I mean, better now than a regular season game where it's a total embarrassment, but I hear you. And I do. And again, I don't think Tork is a great athlete. It's different when I take a player. For instance, there was a time when Seal Perez was a shortstop. teaching that level of athlete how to play the outfield and doing it in the minor leagues. That's a different equation. Doing this now, where there's real moments where I may need him to play the outfield in a major league game, that to me is something I would view the Colorado Rockies or Chicago White Sox doing, not a team that just made the playoffs and won a playoff series. Yeah. And again, maybe I'm getting too big for my britches, but this is where I think teams get too cute. And I think the Tigers, in the absence of answering the question by signing real ball players, they're getting cute. Right. So, again, maybe it works. Won't be the first time I look like a horse's ass. It won't be the last. But I just feel like we're above this. And by the way,
yeah, you shouldn't have question marks at multiple positions.
And what the Lemmings will say is, well, they like roster flexibility. Look, that depends on the lens you're looking at it through. Is it flexibility, or is it that I just don't have any answers?
Necessity. Big difference.
Exactly. Flexibility is I have a high-level ball player like Tommy Edman, who plays for the Dodgers, who can play outfield, short, and second. Mm-hmm. You don't have Tommy Edman.
So I can make a situational move in the game. Okay, you know what? We're going to pull this guy out. We're going to do this. This is more out of necessity. We don't have anybody. So, hey, raise your hand if you can go play outfield. If you played outfield in high school. That's what it feels like. Looks like, seems like.
Noted.
If it's roster flexibility, then he should be able to play right and left. That means corner outfield, he should be okay there. But that's not what this is. And it is frustrating as a fan dealing with this you're right, Mike, March 18th. And I'll give you this. Okay, so they didn't know this. Let's just say had no idea injuries happened. Things were going to be the way they were at the beginning of the offseason. But one thing teams always do is you reevaluate as you get into training camp. As you get into spring training, you say, well, do we need to do something else? Do we need to go get another body? And they didn't. And that's the problem that I have. You got to get some extra bodies. Injuries happen. Things happen. But you had nothing behind them. Nothing.
And that's the problem. It's almost like, did you not see this in the entire offseason? Why is this all of a sudden coming up right now?
Well, and again, they had a plan to go get Alex Bregman. Fine. I'm disappointed Jace Young is not apparently close to being able to play because A.J. Hinch did the equivalent of this. Basically said his timing's been off from day one. Whoa, boy. He didn't even do the obligatory, it was a really tough decision.
Right, you're right.
He's like, yeah, dude's pretty much terrible from day one. So
you walked up to him. Was this really a surprise, son?
Yeah, and look, no, last year is not going to be duplicated in the same manner. Can every guy who took a step forward last year not only maintain it, but take another step? Does no one get caught by regression? Is the pitching good enough? Like, there's a lot of questions where I start to get nervous of like, man, they got the earmarkings of a team that's going to take a step back. And the division is just bunched. Everyone's basically 82 wins. I don't have time to give wins away. Keep your eye on the Torque thing. We'll see. I just wanted to give it one segment, guys.